Hey guys, so today we're making homemade Play-Doh using ingredients that you've already got in your kitchen. We've got water, flour, and salt. I'm using grapeseed vegetable oil because it's clear and it won't tint my Play-Doh, but you can use whatever vegetable oil you have. And then cream of tartar, which is, you can get it in the spice section in your grocery store. And then food coloring, I've got red and yellow because I'm going to hopefully pull off a nice vibrant orange. And then I'm scenting mine with tangerine essential oil, nice and citrusy, and I'm definitely a citrus person. I love it. Okay, so those are the ingredients. The steps are pretty easy. I will post the recipe in the comments of this video. The original recipe is slightly different from what I'm doing. Not the ingredients, but I'm doing a smaller batch, so I'm like taking a third of everything it calls for. So I'll be using 1 cup of flour, whereas the recipe calls for 3. So that's what you'll be seeing me do today. The reason I am doing this, I do have Play-Doh in my home. I buy this Play-Doh because it's fast, it's easy, you can get a bunch of different colors, and I let my older kids play with it, but my youngest one, when he first started playing with Play-Doh, he would eat it, and I caught him one day. He was gagging because he'd taken this huge chunk out of his ball of Play-Doh, and it got all stuck in his teeth, and it was nasty and gross, and I did some reading on the ingredients in the Play-Doh, and it says it's non-toxic. But there's several things in there, such as fragrance, which I've mentioned before. You don't really know what fragrance is in things. You know, they could use a bunch of different chemicals to make a, false sense of like a vanilla smell or whatever. So I was just doing some research, and I didn't like them. I didn't want them to eat this Play-Doh. Obviously, it's not for consumption, but kids will eat it. So I like making my own Play-Doh for my younger kid who tends to eat it. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to make him a little batch of Play-Doh. So I'm going to use a cup of flour, a third of a cup of salt, okay, because we're going to mix all the ingredients into this bowl. Sorry, I'm going to read as I go. It's been a while since I've made it. So yeah, you mix everything into the glass bowl except my essential oil. I'm not going to do that yet, and I'll explain why in a minute. And then I'm going to do my oil, actually. I'm going to do 1 tablespoon of grapeseed oil. Yeah, that was a little much. 1 tablespoon. And then I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of cream of tartar. Okay, I'm going to mix all that together. And then I'm going to add my water, and I have 1 cup of water. And then just mix it until it's blended. Once I've got it blended, I will add my food coloring. Hopefully I'll make a nice pretty orange. We'll see. Sorry, I'm having to stir slowly because it's wanting to slosh up and get me messy. Okay, so at this point your Play-Doh is going to look something, if I can see if I can do this. Can you kind of see I can't tilt it too much, it's super, you can see that? It's super runny, super watery. So that's the consistency right now. I'm going to go ahead and add my food coloring. I'm going to try 1 drop of each color to see what happens. 1 yellow, 1 red. Let's see what happens. Sorry, it gets kind of tedious in this step. It takes me a second. Now, I used pastry flour that I actually ground myself, so it tends to be a little browner than the store-bought flour you can get, like white flour at the store. So my Play-Doh is already going to be a little browner without the food coloring than if you just bought flour at the store. So I don't notice a whole lot of difference with 1 drop of each color. It looks basically the same color. So I'm just going to add a little bit more, and I won't be too picky about it, but I'll try 3 more of each color and see what happens. But in the interest of time, I'm not really going to worry about it. That definitely helped. Okay. Oh, real quick. You're gonna be putting it on the stove top to help thicken it. So I just turned my stove on to start warming up because it's an electric stove. So you'll need a frying pan for this. Okay, definitely have an orange consistency now. I really wish I could. Let's see if I can angle my camera real quick without dropping it. So you can kind of, can you see? That's a terrible, so sorry. I'm filming on my iPad, so it's a little bulky and hard to move. Okay, but as you can see, it is still very, very runny. Okay, I did the best to get all the lumps out. And the next step is you're gonna pour this into the frying pan over low heat and pretty much stir constantly. So I'm gonna move the camera real quick over to the frying pan and then we'll get right back at it. Okay, so now we're at the stove and I'm gonna pour my Play-Doh mixture into my frying pan, which feels pretty warm. I have it on like medium-low. You just get all of this goodness in here. Sorry, I'm picky about getting all of it. Okay, and then it just says stir until it's not sticky anymore. We'll see how long that takes. I'll time it. So I'm going to kind of just stir it. To be honest, this is my first time doing it this way, so I hope it works, but I would imagine as it heats up, it's going to clump together and become a ball of Play-Doh rather than all this liquid stuff once it gets, you know, really well warmed through. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to sit here and mix this, and then we'll come back as soon as it's done what it's supposed to. Okay, so I'm starting to see some progress with this Play-Doh. Where it was really runny before, if you can see, it's starting to clump up on the bottom of the pan. So it's definitely starting to change and get thicker, and I'm just going to constantly stir it to keep it from burning and sticking. But yeah, it's definitely thickening up. And it didn't turn into a super vibrant orange. It kind of turned more into like a tomato soup color. But that's okay. My kid really won't care. Right now, it does not smell that great. It pretty much just smells like salt. So it's just kind of like, not appetizing at all. Which, it's not intended for them to eat. It's just intended to be edible if that's what happens. Safe to eat. I would still prefer he didn't. It's not going to taste good. There's a lot of salt in here. Hopefully to preserve it longer. Okay, kind of show you where we're at. See, it's really starting to clump. Okay, you basically just keep going until it's not sticky. So until it can, I think it's until you can kind of hold its shape, like hold a ball shape without just kind of everywhere. Yeah, that's my sound effect. I don't have a word for that. Okay. Bum, bum, bum. Sorry, it's always the awkward part, just kind of an awkward silence. Aha, okay. This is so cool. Here we go. I think it's just about done. This made a lot. I only did a third of the recipe and it made quite a bit, which is fine, but I'm glad I made a third of the recipe. So there's your Play-Doh. It's kind of holding its shape. Whoop, I can pick it up. See, it's kind of holding its shape. Okay, so that's when I take it off the heat, and then I got a tray over here with wax paper, and I'm just going to set the Play-Doh on the wax paper to kind of let it cool. And after that, after it's cooled enough, I'm going to add my tangerine essential oil to scent it. If you add it while it's still really hot, it kind of kills the smell. And so you want to let it cool down so that it absorbs the smell and holds the smell longer. So I'll let it cool down for a little bit and then I'll come back and add the essential oils. Okay, we are back and the Play-Doh has cooled. As you can see, it is basically the consistency you would expect of Play-Doh. Worked out really well. So you can kind of see the color, very tomato soup colored. So now I'm going to add my essential oil to scent it. I'm just gonna do like, I'm gonna try like 5 drops, see what happens. These, I like a lot of scent, and these are very concentrated drops, so you really won't need a ton. 3, I'm actually gonna try 4. No, there we go. The original recipe calls for 10, and so I'm doing approximately 1/3 of that. And then you just kind of knead it in. Yeah. And that's pretty much all there is to it. This is now an edible, safe Play-Doh for my kids. It's actually not nearly as sticky. My kids love, you know, like when they play with it at the table, when they pick it up and I'm cleaning up, it leaves residue all over my table. And oftentimes my son, for some reason, likes to play with his toy animals and like engulf them in Play-Doh as if they're being trapped or whatever. I don't know where his mind goes, but that's what he does. And so as a result, I spend like 10 minutes picking Play-Doh out of the teeth and the hooves and the ears of all his little toy animals that he has. But this seems way less sticky. So I'm hoping it will be a lot easier to clean up in the long run. Let's see. I smell it, but I still smell a lot of salt. So I'm basically just gonna keep adding drops until I really notice the tangerine. I added 6 more, so I'm gonna do the full 10 drops in this 1/3 of the recipe. You can really do whatever you want. It's your preference. That's fine. I just really like a lot of scent. Plus, when they play with it, I'd rather their hands smell like the tangerine rather than like the salty Play-Doh smell. Yeah, this is definitely more pliable than the store-bought stuff. That smells better. Okay, so then in the past, I put these in Ziploc bags, and I actually kept them on a shelf in my kids' room, and it lasted for a while, but then I kind of forgot it was there, and several weeks later I went back to it, and it was gross. It was super molded and mildew and wet. It was nasty. So this time I'm going to try storing it in the fridge. So I'll probably go find a better container that's more this size. This is a little big. But basically I'm just going to put it in a lidded container, stick it in the fridge, and just pull it out whenever my kids want to play with it. And it said each time you pull out your Play-Doh, you can add more drops of essential oil to it as they play with it. It's really your preference, whatever you want, but at this point you've got a nice base and it will last a little while, hopefully longer now that it's in the fridge. But that is how I make Play-Doh at home, and I love that I'm comfortable with my kids playing with it, getting all over their hands, you know, my son eating it. So I really like this alternative to the store-bought stuff. So anyway, hope y'all had fun watching this video. I certainly had fun making it. So if y'all ever try this at home, you know, comment below and tell me how it went, how you liked it, and if you used an essential oil, what scent you used to scent your Play-Doh. So y'all just let me know in the comments, and y'all have a fantastic day.